Welcome to another DragonLance Saga review episode. My name is Adam, and it is Misham Frostcolt the 16th. Today I'm going to give you my spoiler review of Amber and Iron by Margaret Weis. This is the second in the Dark Disciple trilogy, and decidedly less sexy as well in comparison to the first. So the first Dark Disciple book was all about Chemish sort of seducing Mina, and then Mina going out and seducing other people on this exponential seduction ring. Now we're starting to get into the nitty gritty of the beloved, and it starts to get pretty ugly pretty quick. So all of the love and romance, well, the bloom is off the rose, I guess I'll say. But anyway, this is my spoiler review, so if you don't want to know the story, you probably shouldn't be watching this. Just putting that out there. Now, if you don't mind spoilers, then I welcome you. I welcome your commentary in chat. I welcome your thoughts throughout the entirety of the review, because after I'm finished delivering you my pre-written review, I'll just sort of riff with you, and we'll have a little bit of fun. It's really supposed to be, just a little bit of fun talking about, well, Amber and Iron. Another Dragonlance novel. I will say really quickly, I'm taking a week to read a different novel. There's a Star Wars novel I wanted to read. So I'm going to read that, and the week following, I'll finish out the Dark Disciple trilogy, and I'll give you my review. So look for that, probably, like before New Year's or something like that. Okay. Book 1 repeats the Kaz game between the Death Knight Ostrich Krell and Rice Mason, ending in Rise jumping off of a cliff with Lord Erican's soul as a Kaz piece and Nightshade in his pocket. He was rescued by Zeboim, who sends him after Mina and teleports them both to Solace. There they meet up with Gerard again, and Rise reclaims his dog Ada that he lent to Gerard to herd Kender and Solace with. They shared their entire story with Gerard, who wants to help after hearing of Mina being the cause of the beloved of Chemish. He asked Rise and Nightshade to stay in town for a few days while he comes up with a plan to stop the beloved. Rise's staff that transformed into a mantis and attacked Krell magically has now appeared with Ada in the jail. It appears Majir isn't ready to give up on Rise quite yet. Book 2 has Rise meeting Mistress Jenna, now head of the Conclave of Wizards, and Dominique, an Argothian paladin of Kiri Jolith, both summoned by Gerard. They discover Cam, Gerard's friend, has become a beloved of Chemish and devise a way of capturing him. They discount Rise and Nightshade's ability when they say the beloved are immortal. They all wait for Cam at the meeting place he's set to seduce yet another young woman, and they try to capture him. Gerard nearly gets the life choked out of him by Cam, but Ada, Rise's dog, knocks him down and attacks him in order to protect Gerard. Cam ends up twisting the dog's neck and discarding the body. And I audibly gasped as I was reading this because I completely forgot about this scene. It immediately struck in my mind the faces of my dogs that I've lost over the years, and I couldn't help but have tears stream down my damn cheeks because I forgot about this scene and it just struck me that hard. If you've ever had an animal die that you were close with, it's devastating. It's not as impactful in my opinion as a loved one, like a loved human, like a spouse or a girlfriend or boyfriend or a parent or something like that, or a child, of all the horrible things. But it hurts. And this just like sucker punched me. All right, that being said, Nightshade goes to help Ada while Dominique attacks Cam with his Holy Avenger, eventually cutting Cam's head off. When Cam picks it up off the ground and puts it back on his own head, taunting them the whole time. Now again, this is very Death Becomes Her in spirit. Hey Goldmoon, thanks for tuning in live. Now Jenna casts a powerful spell on Cam that sort of backfires and has no effect. It was supposed to have turned him into ashes. She is wildly stunned that this didn't do anything, and Cam walks away saying that they're able to be killed, but the price would be too high for them to be willing to pay to do so. Dominique goes to report his findings to the Holy Order of the Stars and the Knights of Solamnia, while Jenna convenes an immediate council of the wizards and tells them what she has discovered. Ada was brought back to health by Nightshade. Now, I'd already liked the character but seeing him bring back that dog after having that event completely blindside me kind of makes me love that rascal of a Kender a little bit more. Just putting it out there. Rise and Nightshade then leave to find Lou. Zeboim visits Chemish, who tells her about the tower in the Blood Sea and asks if he's going to return her son Erikin's soul if she brings him Mina. While Nuitari, away from the tower at the Conclave with the siblings, the two black-robed wizards within the tower are supposed to escort Mina for an hour out of her room, but instead decide to try to kill her. This happens just as Zeboim arrives outside the tower and starts rocking it with the sea, causing massive destruction inside the tower. Mina realizes the wizards are trying to kill her, and in the tumult, grabs the knife and threatens their lives. She finds herself worried about the two, which is very strange because she literally killed a Death Knight with one hit on the back of its head. What is she afraid of two stupid black-robed wizards for? Like, one does not add up to the other. Her entire youth, she was raised by Goldmoon to believe in the impossible, the power of the heart. Then she's seduced by Takesis, and she literally performs miracles and empowers the entire Knights of Takesis into a dominating threat. She kills dragon overlords. She, like, literally knocks out a Death Knight, and it's two measly wizards she's suddenly worried about? It just strikes me as completely off character and kind of just wildly inconsistent, I guess I'll say. Anyway, Chemish creates two stone coffins, and she forces the two of them into it. She then travels to the bottom of the tower where there's this ancient sea dragon named Midori, who is protecting holy artifacts, which Mina is trying to take care of. And the dragon recognizes Mina. Hi, can I have a sip of Adam's Coke? Great name, by the way. A bit long, maybe an acronym, but great name, man. Thanks for joining live. Yeah, this was really weird because it sets up this ancient dragon that's been slumbering throughout all of the events on Krynn, through the Cataclysm, through the Dragon Wars. It's been slumbering through the second Cataclysm when chaos was going to destroy the world. And it just sort of woke up a little bit as Nuitari sort of like, bink, 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 tapped it on the in the shell. It was like, hey, could you watch my stash for me? I'd appreciate it. And so as soon as Mina comes to this gigantic fishbowl that he's protecting the Hall of Artifacts within, he sees her and he's like, where have you been? Who are you? So he clearly knows of Mina, if not exactly who she is. And this is a riddle that drives Mina crazy. And it's going to be the turning point in her character moving forward. Okay, so the dragon basically says, look, if you want in there, have at it, Hoss, and just backs up and kind of, tucks its head in its shell. Mina enters the hall, and she's overcome with the power of the divinity within, and can do nothing but tears streaming down her face and just praise to the gods, apologizing for desecrating the place with her very essence. And this is a very strange moment. First of all, it's not what Nuitari wanted at all. Nuitari didn't want her in there at all, but Chemish wanted her to grab holy artifacts for him. That was the whole purpose of her going there. Not to have her supplicate herself to all of the gods. It was kind of strange. Okay, so Nuitari arrives at the battered tower, and Zeboim demands Mina as payment for him bullying his tower in her domain. He agrees, and he goes to collect Mina, but he runs into Midori, who is now actually furious with Nuitari for lying to him. But Nuitari has no idea what the dragon is talking about because he doesn't have any idea who Mina is either. No one does, apparently. So he enters the hall, sees Mina praying. He realizes there is something truly special about this human being, but she is not worth the effort. So he's like, you know what? I see what people see in you, but I want none of this trouble. And he just takes her and gives her to Zeboim. When I first read this, I remember racking my brain about who could this Mina actually be? We're told she's an orphan, so she was a child when we first, her own history begins at her being a child, washing up on the shores of Shalsea. how could she possibly be anything but just a little kid, right? But she's clearly something significantly more. And because the third novel wasn't out and I hadn't finished reading this one yet when I was at this point the first time when it was initially released, I was going crazy. Trying to like, what the hell is this girl? What could she possibly be? All right, so book 3 finally gives us the answer on how to kill the beloved. First, we find Lou being trailed to Newport by Rise and Nightshade and find out that he intends to turn a young widow. Rise approaches the widow, who's desperate for a husband, and believes Lou will marry her, so she ignores Rise's warning. Rise and Nightshade are found sleeping in an alley when a cleric of Mishakal invites them to his temple to sleep and have a meal. They hit it off as well, and the next day when Rise returns, he tells them about his brother, that they need to summon the city guards and stop his brother from turning the young woman that evening. Rise is in a bar watching Lou with Nightshade when Zeboim bursts in with Mina, who she just collected from the tower, just to introduce him to Rise, because we remember in the first book, Zeboim first started bugging Rise because she wanted Rise to find Mina. Then she wanted Rise to find answers to how to, what the beloved were, but ultimately it was all to find Mina. But then she just found her herself. So what exactly does she still need with Rise? Why does she care about him at this point? It's a little unclear. Other than, I have to put a pin in this, all of the gods are searching for followers in the 5th age. So that may be one of them. Oh, I hope you do, Goldman, because I don't want to. This is a huge spoiler in this book. I don't want to spoil it now. I'm going to, but it's on you, not me. Okay, so Mina barely recognized. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. So Lou comes in and Lou sees Mina, who again, if we remember correctly, Lou was the first one to be turned as a beloved of Chemish by Mina herself. So as soon as he sees her, he falls to his knees and wraps his arms around her. He's like, Mina, kill me. I don't want this anymore. He is conscious enough as an entity to know that he is feeling significant amount of pain, even though he's not aging. So we're finally seeing through Lou's eyes what it means to actually be a beloved of Chemish. Yes, they retain their youthful beauty. And they can party and do all the drugs and alcohol and eat all the food and do everything they want to do, have sex with as many people as they want, and it's glorious, except that they're filled with pain all the time unless they're killing someone or turning them into a beloved of Chemish. And it's just a life that they realize they don't want to live anymore. They don't even have a soul, and their memory fades from moment to moment. So exponentially, when they get turned, they just start forgetting about who they were, the loved ones they had in their lives, their family, their parents, their everything. All they are consumed with is an insatiable need to kill and turn. So great on the look front, horrible on the existence front, becoming a beloved of Chemish here. Mina looks at him and she's like, I don't even know who you are. Like, what's your problem? You're not one of my beloved. You're one of Chemish's beloved. If you want to die, you need to talk to Chemish, not me. Totally blowing him off. She looks at Rise and she has this like stunned reaction as if she knows him or he sees something in her. And then Zeboim's like, well, I just wanted to show her. Here she is. I'll be back later. And she takes off to go deliver Mina to Chemish. He's accosted by clerics of Majir later on when he's trying to return back to the temple, who apparently don't want him to return. They're like, look, we've been looking for you ever since you left the monastery. You need to come with us and get right with God. Get right with Majir. And Rise is like, look, I respect Majir. He knows I do. And I will come to you, but right now we have to go stop my brother from trying to kill a young woman. And they're like, no, you need to come with us. So he has to literally beat the crap out of all of these priests of Majir in order to get away from them. He finally gets back to the temple where he's going to be leading all these other people to where his brother's going to meet this girl. And he's late. They actually get there. She is in the middle of being attacked by his brother. And her son is screaming, get off my mom, leave her alone, because he's threatening to kill her son, and he's throttling her, saying, swear your soul to Chemish, because clearly she doesn't want to. First of all, she was warned by Rise earlier in the day, like, hey, don't do this. And now she realizes he doesn't want to marry me and make me an honest woman or support me and my kids. He just wants me to turn to his god. I want none of that. And so, of course, he turns to threatening and being abusive and stuff. She screams out for help. The Rise and the priests and the city guards come busting through the front door, and the little boy runs up to Lou, the beloved of Chemish, and smacks him, saying, leave my mom alone, leave my mom alone. Lou immediately, all of his flesh just melts away, revealing just the skeleton, which bursts into flame, and just ash and oily ash just falls all over the room. He completely spontaneously combusts from this child hitting him. The child is shocked, of course, who wouldn't be, goes into a seizure. The mother is shocked again and passes out. And everyone's stunned, like, what did we just watch? What just happened? Right? Just completely crazy. They realize, okay, so we can kill the beloved, but it has to be an innocent child who does it out of malice. And then they can't do it twice because they're no longer innocent. It tortures them. So there's a huge toll to pay in order to kill these things. Now, the Ergothian paladin thinks it's kind of worth it, though he wants to sort of, resort to, give that decision to the different gods and their followers. The city guard is like, hey, let's get a bunch of kids and kill all of these beloved of Chemish. And Jenna's like, are you mad? And Rise, of course, wants none of it. He's like, no, this is crazy. So they all agree, now we know how to kill it. We're all going to split up, go to our mutual corners, and try to come up with a plan. So Jenna calls this emergency council meeting for the Order of High Sorcery. Dominic goes to report his findings to the Holy Order of the Stars, and the Knights of Salamnia. And Rise is like, I don't know what to do anymore, because she already has Mina. My brother's dead. The whole reason I left the monastery was to track my brother and stop him from killing more people. Now that's done. And why would the gods ever allow such a horrible event to be the only way to kill the beloved? By killing innocence itself. Infuriated, he throws his robes off. He swears the gods, to the abyss with all of you, and he just marches off. Meanwhile, Ada and Nightshade are like, wait for us, Rise. Where are you going? They're like running after him. He's completely infuriated and pissed off. The whole time, Nightshade's like, you have to go back to your god. We could all just sort of settle down and go get some dinner and relax now. And he's like, I don't want to do anything. He's kind of at the end of his ropes. He's really pissed off. And that's when a bunch of Minotaurs jump him, capture them, throw them in sacks, and throw them onto a ship. They think they're being captured to become slaves on the ship, until the ship lifts off the water and floats across the continent in the air. Okay. I'm sorry, I just ran like right through a whole bunch of stuff here on my review, just riffing. Okay, so book 4 has the Minotaur, this is the last book in the novel, has the Minotaur ship delivering Rise, Nightshade, and Ada to a cave by the sea. They're all chained up with food in reach, salted pork, and Zeboim delivers Mina a necklace that will take her to her heart's desire. Now, Mina wants nothing but to understand the truth behind the questions posed by Midori the Sea Dragon. Who are you, and where did you come from? She allows the necklace to guide her, and it takes her to the cave to Rise. She aggressively asks Rise the question, saying that she saw him in orange robes of Majir, not the seafoam green robes of Zeboim he's in now. Now, we got to remember, this was in the bar right after Zeboim captured Mina, or received Mina from Nuatari, from it was way intense, from the Tower of the Blood Sea. But he was in the seafoam green clothes then. He wasn't in the orange robes of Majir. So she saw him in a way that he did not exist. But she's insistent. You know who I am. You looked at me as if you had recognition in your eyes. I need you to tell me who I am. I need you to solve this riddle for me. He's like, look, honey, I'm chained in a cave. I don't know. I met you a day ago. Like, I literally have no idea who you are. And so she starts like beating on him, and she's like, I'm going to come back tonight and I'm going to torture you to death by killing that Kender and killing your dog and then torturing you until you tell me what I know that you know. And he's like, look, I've made peace with death. I've prayed to my god Majir, and I've apologized for turning away from him, and I am at peace right now. So if you have to kill me, I'm okay to meet my god in this moment. Infuriated, she leaves. Then he convinces Nightshade to use the grease from the salted pork in order to slip his arms and feet out of the chains and run for help. Hey, hero to millions. Thanks for joining live. So the Kender finally agrees, like, okay, I'm going to go run away because she's going to come back and kill us anyway, but I don't want to leave you. And Rise is like, look, there's a temple of Majir. All you have to do is go to Flotsam. I'm pretty sure it was Flotsam. Go to Flotsam, which is not far away, and get the priest there and bring them back, and then, they'll help you rescue me. And he's like, that's a great idea. And so he goes running off. Now, in the middle of him running off, he gets over the rise and he's looking over for the city, and it's really far away. He doesn't see it even in his, just short-term vision here. And he's like, oh, Rise just sent me away so I wouldn't get killed. He knew I wouldn't find any priests. He knew I wouldn't come back with any help. And so Nightshade sort of drops to his knees and he's praying to Majir, like, what are you doing? Why are you letting your own devotee die? We need your help. I don't want to presume any authority over here, but at least help your follower. He's apologized. He's following you now. He's willing to die, and I don't want him to die. It's not just for him to die. He's been stopping, all this murder all of his life so far. Can you please help him? Just then he sees two people coming from over a rise. He runs over to two people thinking, hey, it's got to be the priests. Majir answered my prayers, right? He runs into two beloved of Chemish who are like, I'm going to kill this Kender. I'm going to give his soul to Chemish. And the other one's like, it's just a Kender. You don't want to do that. He's like, I don't care. Look, killing helps the pain go away, so I'm going to kill. Hey, Tiamat. Oh, that's very cool. All right. So he, realizing he's about to get killed, turns tail and runs as fast as he can, runs into this like sort of a field that just sort of appears there, and all these grasshoppers start flying up everywhere. He's losing himself. He's kind of going a little bit crazy, and then he runs through the grasshoppers and runs smack dab into this monk who is dressed just like a monk of Majir and looks exactly as one would expect Majir to look. And he realizes eventually that, yeah, this is in fact Majir. And Majir tells him that he's searching for Mina. He's like, no, I prayed to you so that you would find Rise, not Mina. Why is everyone looking for Mina? No, go help Rise. He's the one I prayed for. He's like, look, you have my blessing. And he gave the dog and he gave the Kender his blessing. He's like, Rise has my blessing too, but I have something I need to deal with. So what happened a little bit earlier was that Zeboim entered the cave after Mina and them left, and she was like, what do you mean you're at peace and you're a follower of Majir now? You swore yourself to me. Now you're going to be my follower, or I'm going to make you suffer. And he's like, I'm ready to die. You know what? I've done what I can. I'm at peace. I don't know what you want me to say. So frustrated out of her wits, Zeboim is getting nowhere with any of this. She goes to another plane of existence to where Majir is. And she sees Majir practicing. She's like, look, I know you know who Mina is, and I'm tired of playing games. You need to tell me right now. Completely blows her off, completely ignores her the whole time. But she figures that, okay, fine, look, he knows who she is. He knows that she is causing all sorts of problems right now down on the planet. He's going to have to deal with her eventually. So I'm just going to go watch the show. So she ends up leaving, but that was the prompt of what made Majir actually come down and search out Mina. He lets on that, yes, he does in fact know who she is, that he made a promise at some point about something, but he needs to now go and address the truth. Chemish told Krell, the Death Knight, to follow Mina when she went searching for Rise that first time. And so he stood outside of the cave in the shadows. Of course, he's a Death Knight. And as soon as Mina left, he went and started to go tattle on her to Chemish, saying his plan, Krell's plan, was to tell Chemish that Mina was meeting a lover, which would drive Chemish crazy because Chemish is literally obsessed with Mina at this point. I mean, frustrated, but obsessed with her. And so he starts leaving, and then he hears the screaming sounds of Zeboim, who has tormented him for decades. So, of course, he recognizes the voice, but he also doesn't want to stick around too long. And so he goes and tells Chemish that not only is Mina conspiring with Zeboim, but she's meeting her lover in the cave. So then when Mina comes up to Chemish and Krell, and she's like, hello, my dear, how are you? Let's, talk and, I don't know, whatever. He completely scorns her. He locks her in a room. He's like, you're going to train the beloved because they don't listen to anyone else. Another point of contention with Chemish. The beloved, they have such short lifespans. Anything that Krell tries to teach them militarily in tactics or behaviors, they forget and ignore. And it's just driving Chemish insane that he can't control these people he created. His only reliable person is Krell, whom he cannot stand. And the woman that he's desperately in love with, he doesn't know anything about. And she seems to be something that she's not and knows something about herself that he can't figure out. And she's not telling him. And he's convinced she's cheating on him. So he's out of his mind. So Krell's watching her. Chemish goes down to when she was actually going to meet Rise in order to torture him and kill him and stuff. Chemish goes down there to confront Rise, saying, "Haha, you're her lover. I know what you are." And Rise is like, "I'm not anyone's lover. I don't know what you're talking about, man. I don't even know who she is. I'm chained to this wall. Like, what do you people want from me?" And Chemish is like, "You know what? I'm just going to kill you. I can't handle this anymore. You're not worth my time." And Ada comes pounding in because they were, of course, coming back to rescue Rise. Ada jumps on Chemish, bites into her teeth. Ada is now blessed by Majir, and so it actually does the avatar form of the god Chemish's damage. He throws her off of him, completely furious. Rise takes a piece of the emide that Zeboim had destroyed when she was visiting him, jabs it into Chemish's back, and then the earth starts to rumble. So, the earth is rumbling because Krell decides he's going to kill Mina. Now that Mina is out of favor with Chemish, he's never liked Mina in the first place, sort of like a power rivalry that they're having. And so he goes in to kill her, and he's like, if I was in my mortal form, I would have a lot more pleasure before I killed you. We know what that means. And she snaps. Something inside Mina finally snaps. And this amber aura starts emanating off of her, and she looks at him furious, tells him, "If you want to be immortal so bad, you are now immortal." And he literally turns back into a mortal in the same way that Lord Soth did, that Takesis turned him back into a mortal before she killed him. Mina is now doing that to Osric Krell. We know now that Mina has the power of a god. She is a god, but we all are familiar with the pantheon of deities. So how is it possible that there's another god on Krynn that no one knows about except for Majir, who somehow kept a secret about it? Bunch of questions popping up, right? So Mina's like, look, if Chemish doesn't trust me, I'm going to get the exact thing that he's always been hounding me to get, those artifacts from the Tower of the Blood Sea. So she goes to the top of the keep that Chemish built for her, and she literally uses her power to reach down into the ocean and lift the tower up off of the ground and made it an island in the middle of the Blood Sea as this god. And all the while, every god in the heavens is now staring down on Krynn, mouth agape, eyes wide, like, who the, what the, I don't understand, what, huh? Mina passes out from the exhaustion of doing the act, or for some other reason, and all the gods convene down at once, every single one of them. And they're all like, we're missing one. Where the hell is Majir? And Majir walks up, and everyone's like, how did she do that? Who is she? And he's like, well, she's a god. I promised I wouldn't say anything. And Sargonis is like, Takesis, it must be an evil god. Yes, we have another evil god. He's like, no, she was a god of light. And that's the end of the book. They just drop it. She was a god. She was a god of light, turned by Takesis, doesn't know that she was a god. Where she came from, who knows? Who told Majir to keep the secret about her being a god of light? Who knows? How could you drop this at the end of a second book while we're still waiting for the release of the third book? It was infuriating reading this the very first time when it was initially released. Now, of course, I've read it and I know everything, but I was and Siri's now talking to me. I was insane when I read that. Like, how could this be the end? Like, flipping through the book. Like, this can't be happening. Hey, Raceland, thanks for tuning in live. Appreciate you. Okay. So, it is a terribly exciting end to the second act. And as we now understand how Mina has done what she's done so far, why Takesis was so careful and jealous of her in the War of the Souls, why the gods are enraptured by her, I was, however, frustrated with Ada and Rise's harming Chemish's avatar. Now, they explained it away as them being blessed by Majir, but they still, like, beat down the avatar of a god. And I don't know. It makes Chemish look like a punk. Like, I didn't enjoy that at all. I didn't enjoy how many human emotions this trilogy attached to the gods. How Mina made Chemish fall in love with her. Now we understand that she's a god, and so it doesn't hurt as much. It doesn't bother me as much because Chemish didn't fall in love with a mortal. But still, I don't know. It makes the gods too human. And they were already like that originally. They always like stuck their fingers in the machinations of man. But this trilogy made them infinitely more involved with every aspect of mankind, which is something that is very, very new. The manner in which they're doing it to Krynn in this trilogy. So that kind of struck me as a little bit weird too. And then we realized that, wait a second, now that Mina's a god, if she was a god of light, the whole Dragonlance trilogy is about balance. Like, not Dragonlance trilogy, but the entire Dragonlance campaign setting is about balance between good, neutrality, and evil. And how neutrality is trying to keep the balance between good and evil. So sometimes neutrality will shift to evil in order to keep good in check, and sometimes it'll switch to good to keep evil in check. But if there was another good god this whole time, where was the balance? How can that be the defining theme of this campaign if you were just going to throw out a god willy-nilly and disrupt the entirety of the entire theme at the end of the entire campaign saga? Kind of put a little thorn in my side. Kind of bugs me a little bit. But it is what it is. Like, it explains why Mina is able to do everything that she's always been doing throughout the War of Souls and Dark Disciples thus far. And then what is to come? How are the gods going to be trying to pull her? Because if she can sway from light to dark, like she clearly did, who's going to now have influence over her? Is Chemish going to be able to keep her on his side and then have the balance of the dark be the most powerful? Is Gillian going to try to do something to say, hey, how about you have a seat at my table? Let's read this book together and do a little story time. You know, try to keep her occupied. Are the gods of good? Because we know Mishakal has turned from a peace healer into a warrior goddess in the Fifth Age. She's taken up the role not only of her own aspects, but the aspects of the now lost Paladine. So she is much more aggressive. Is she going to try to bring her back? Like, look, you were once a god of light. Come back. We really need you right now. You know? So this sets up the last book to be really just furious in the heavens. The gods are going to be warring with each other, trying to gain influence and power over Mina. And who knows what Mina's going to do. And we still have the beloved of Chemish to deal with. No one wants their kid to lose their mind by destroying a beloved of Chemish. Because it's a 1-1 situation. Once one child kills one beloved of Chemish, they're no longer innocent, so they can't kill anymore. And so not only are you destroying the beloved of Chemish, you're destroying a child. Who wants to do that? So it is setting up for a great final act of the Dark Disciple trilogy of nothing but raw chaos and madness on Krynn. And I can't wait to be able to deliver that review for you. So I would recommend this novel to anyone who enjoys the Fifth Age or the War of Souls. The Dark Disciple trilogy is turning out to be another world-altering series, and I, for one, am really enjoying it, despite its flaws. Okay, what do you guys think? What do you have to say? So Majir was re-godified. First of all, we need to make sure that there's a separation here because people get confused because of the names and probably because of the Death Saves artwork. Raceland Majir, Karaman Majir, they are not gods. The god Majir is totally separate from the family of Majirs. They're not related in any way. It's a totally different entity. Majir, as the god is concerned, is actually pronounced Majare. It was created by Jeff Grubb before Dragonlance was ever a thing. So the god Majir is different from Raceland. So when we're talking about Raceland Majir wanting to become a god, not Majir. That is not the same thing. He was a god until he realized what he was going to be when he became a god, and then he stopped himself from becoming a god and sacrificed himself to be kept in the abyss. The god Majir, was always a god from the beginning of time. So just hope that makes it clear. Because I know it was conflated with that Death Saves artwork because they had Raceland Majir and then they had the Rose of Majir, the god, as if they're the same thing, and they're not. That was a mistake on their artwork team, their art team, and it totally confuses everyone. Goldmoon, you are amongst the companions, for sure. Okay, so now that's clarified. Avatars are tricky business. In second edition, there were only slatted parts of deities, but in third, there were like greater aspects. Yeah, and that's the other thing is that we do it. They go to great lengths to explain that the avatars are tiny, tiny, tiny little like human shells. They don't feel pain unless another god causes them pain, which is why Ada was able to bite him and hurt him. But it only presents a tiny, tiny bit of the essence of the deity. The entire mind of the god and full power of the god is still in its own realm and is not contained therein. So my complaint about Chemish looking like a punk isn't entirely fair because it's only a tiny, tiny aspect of the god. But it's still an aspect, you know? I would hate to see a drunk barroom brawler walk up to Fizban the Fabulous and punch him in the face and see Fezban drop to the ground. That would bug me. In the same way, it bugs me that a dog can attack a god's leg and hurt the god. Like that does. I know it's an aspect of the god, and it's not the entirety of the power and everything like that. Still bugs me. If it's a god, I want it to be like, you stupid mortal, I squish you. You know? That's what I expect. All right. It's better than the Fifth Age. It was always Weis and Hickman's baby. Yeah, I am glad that they came back and they did the War of Souls for sure. And I do really like the Dark Disciple trilogy. Maybe Takesis' taking Mina was the way to balance the Force. It's entirely possible. Now, having read the final book, I know the truth, and I don't want to spoil anything from that yet. But yeah, I mean, it's entirely possible. And there's people who have their own headcanon about the whole thing, you know, and we'll talk about that at the end of the next one. Raceland was stripped of his powers by the gods, still respect him. Yep, true that. You're just waiting for him to read your next comment where you caught yourself. Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see that. Let's see. The only way they can take mortal form, only a dyslexic dog can hurt a god. That's fair. God backwards is a dog. Actually pronounced the same. Soulforge sometimes asks Raceland what his name is. He says Majir. The response was like the god. Nice. Yeah, I think not only does it help separate the two to reduce confusion, I don't like saying Majare. it's a mouthful. Majir feels nice. It's like rolls off my tongue. Majare feels like I have to throw a couple marbles in. Yeah, it's a stupid excuse, I know, but that's how I feel when I say it, so I just can't do it. In the same way that people are like, no, it's not Sylvanesti, it's Sylvanesti. I can't. That sounds like it's a weird focus on nest. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Sylvanesti sounds fluid and romantic and flows. Sylvanesti is like being punched in the face while you're trying to say Sylvanesti. Sylvanesti, oh, what the, it's not right. So I don't know. I mean, I know everyone has their own pronunciations. Like, for example, Bupu, when I was reading about the Gully Dwarf Bupu, but when Margaret Weis says the name, it's Bapu, not Bupu. So everyone has their own pronunciations for all of these names. And I know, I see it in the comments. People get bugged about how I pronounce things. And all I can say is, you clearly don't have enough going on in your life if that's what bothers you in life. Like, you need to put your focus on your own life if my pronunciation is the thing that's going to drive you to crazy. You have no problems in life until I come along, apparently. Life is way too much more interesting than my pronunciation of words. So, yeah, I'm going to say ski till the day I die. Not sky, ski. And there's a lot of words in the English and proper British English language where it's IE, that it is E and not I. And so that's why I'll forever say ski. And if we have a problem with ski and sky, well, let's just say Kellandros with the storm of Krynn, and we'll be okay. I mean, I will always do stuff like that. Sylvanesti. Yep. That's what happens to you, man. Yeah. You just punch Fizban in the face and say it how you want. All right. Anyway, that is my review. Thank you all so much for tuning in of my review of Amber and Iron by Margaret Weis. What do you think about Mina being a god? Do you feel like it imbalances anything thus far? Are you curious about how this is going to unfold in the final book of the trilogy? And do you ever play in this period of time in the Fifth Age, in any of the gaming mechanics, whether it's the Fifth Age, the Saga rule system, or whether it's the Dungeons and Dragons rule system? Playing in this era, I think, would be really, really interesting, because the entire Ansalon continent is sort of up in turmoil, and the gods are getting into the middle of everything. So it'd be a great time to play a role-playing game. And I actually played a Priest of Chemish in this era, and it was a lot of fun. Chemish is great. I really dig him as a god. Especially if you go with the trope of he's tired of being the god of dead beings and grotesque monstrosities, right? He wants to be the god of eternal youth and love and sex. It's like, yeah, dude, I'm down. Sign me up. I will definitely play a game with that idea in mind, because that's great. Anyway, have a fantastic day, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I do want to remind you that this channel is all about celebrating the wonderful world of the DragonLance Saga, and I want to thank you for joining me in the celebration. Have a fantastic week, everyone. Again, it's probably going to be 2 weeks before you get my review of the final novel in this trilogy, because I'm going to read a different book in between. Till next time, Slanjavar.